recording
Andrew,
on this.
Share this. Did you share the? Have we got that? Yes, we do. I remember downloading it. Sorry.
Yeah, there should have been a message in the thing today.
Yeah.
Get the latest one, but yeah, this is the one that I worked up. And these are the meetings settings. Now there are 3 different places to find settings in Zoom. Okay, you've got your basic account, you've got your pro account. They both have settings, but there's also account settings. This usually controls if you have more than one license on an account, but it serves also to lock some pro settings so you don't have to worry about hitting them by mistake or anything. Now let me get over here, get this other thing, and I want to share.
Bless you.
Okay. Now, you should be seeing, go over here and change to Carl. Okay, that's when you go to the Zoom website, and quite frankly, I prefer to do everything from the website rather than the scheduler. Simply because if you have any questions about it, it's got the little, question marks detailing it and everything. So we're going to dig right into it. The very first thing is, when you start a meeting, do you want your host video on or off? Do you want your participants video on or off? There are cases it can maybe for each one. It depends on what your use case is. I like them off because that gives everybody time to get their headset in place, quit rustling papers, make sure their hair is combed, the eye shadow's on properly, lipstick's good, you're ready to present a professional appearance. Now, I know in casual meetings that doesn't always mean a lot, but it just helps, particularly if you've got a meeting started and somebody joins late. You don't know what state they may be in. And that's all I can say about that. That's strictly a use case thing. The next one down is the audio type that you want people to join with. They can join by telephone, they can join by computer audio, or you can allow them to join with either or both. That is the best option because you don't know what's on the other end of the people that are joining. Some people have a better experience if they join with the computer but use their telephone for the audio because it's better than their computer audio. And again, it's a question of knowing what you want to do, knowing your users. If you know all your people are going to be joining by computer, not using telephone, you could restrict it to just computer audio. But there's no way for you to know it if you're inviting a bunch of strangers. Join before host, neat little option. It allows anybody to join the meeting before you do. That way they can chat, they can talk to each other. They're not held in a waiting room, although we'll get to the waiting room later and you can now customize it. It's still no fun sitting there in the waiting room where you can't talk to anybody or anything. But again, it's how well do you know the people? Are you going to get a ruffian in there that acts up and everything? Or do you want to be there first and control people as they came in like you did today with the waiting room? Okay, requiring a password for personal meetings if attendees can join before, that's strictly a security issue. I haven't given it a second thought. I don't know anybody else that does. And if you've got a question, be sure and just, take your unmute and ask the questions. These are, yes, Michael, if you're talking about the spreadsheet, they are, if you notice, let me get back over here to Roy. See, we had the host meetings, participants, the audio type, and it's here, here, here. These are the settings for the basic. These are the settings for the pro. Oftentimes they're all the same. Sometimes they're different. Sometimes they're not even available. But as you notice, I've got 4 tabs down here. Basically, I've got it so that you can duplicate this 4 different times. If you've got 4 different use cases, you can save the settings that you use in that particular use case, because if you've got 3 different use cases and you don't remember what meeting you had 2 times back, you don't know what settings you use for that thing, you can record them here. Hopefully, eventually, they will bring in the webinar templates, and they will also be able to use in meetings. And if y'all, like I said, if y'all have questions, just unmute yourself and ask them is the best way to do it. Let me get back up here.
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
I recently learned I could limit people to computer audio.
Mm-hmm.
Unless someone, just to explain, can you be on the video by computer and the audio by telephone?
Yes. Yes.
But doesn't the people have to be, are they going to incur a long distance charge if they're in France?
There are international numbers,
Yes,
that they have. And if you want to pick up the charge, now there may be local tolls involved to getting to that number that they will have to pay for. If you want to pick up the charge for that, they have an expanded audio program that is extra money, and whoever hosted the meeting picks up the charge rather than people joining.
but practically what I have found, if you give them the 3 options, and you want everyone to join by computer audio, for the reasons you stated, it's just confusing, and therefore I make computer audio only. Does anyone else recommend that approach? Or does it, I don't know. Does anyone have anyone join by telephone?
I never have.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. If you never use it and you pose that option to them, isn't it adding to confusion or making
not really, because think about it. Just because I never have doesn't mean that I never will. And I don't know who's going to register for which webinar and what they've got on their end. Like I say, their computer audio may be total crap, so they want to join by telephone for the audio part because it's better.
Does anyone else present here have people join by telephone?
Yes. We had one a couple days ago or last week. Somebody, and I can tell because I have the participants list up, and one was coming in by phone.
Okay, that's 1 vote.
Yeah.
Does anyone else here ever have anyone join by telephone?
I have
Yes,
not.
I do.
Okay,
I do.
thank you.
Yeah.
I do.
And Matt always, if you go to those Tuesdays and Friday meetings, he always has somebody joining by telephone.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
I think even in your thing, Andrew, we have Mark join quite often by telephone, and even Michael when he's on the go, do we not?
I do.
Yeah, that's true.
Perfect, thank you.
I'd forgotten about that. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Join before the password, the generate and require password participants joining by phone. Again, that's just simply another safety option. You can use it or not. I don't know anybody that actually does. Mute participants automatically.
We skipped ahead, haven't we?
No, we were on telephone and then join before host. And I said,
Signed-in users can join meetings. Is that a setting?
join before host? Yeah.
No, only signed-in users can join meetings. Oh, and not available. So that's irrelevant. Is that it?
Right.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's irrelevant on that plan. You have to have the business plan.
Enterprise.
Enterprise plan.
Enterprise account.
10 licenses or more on the same account.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. then where were we? Okay.
Require password.
Yeah. The require password that's a security precaution. I don't use it. I don't know anybody that does. The same for the generate and require password for participants joining by phone. I don't know anybody that uses that. Mute participants automatically. Now, you all may be following along on the checklist on the Google spreadsheet. I'm following what's in the Zoom over on the Zoom website. So if you notice on the spreadsheet itself, let me get back up here. Okay. If something, those are the default settings that come for each plan. If something has something under it, like the always display Zoom meeting at these, not available, the account setting is off.
Mm-hmm.
That's a business thing, The ones that aren't available in Basic or Pro, basically I won't be mentioning because they are not on my meeting options over on the website. That's something that I probably should explain, is this menu that you see when you go to your account on the Zoom website, this side thing, it will change according to what plan you have got. Your free account will not show anything that is only available for the pro account. If you've got the webinar thing, like it's got webinar stuff, it doesn't show up until you actually have the webinar put onto your account. So if there's any confusion between what I'm showing on the screen at the Zoom thing and the spreadsheet, you can bet that if I don't mention it and it's on the spreadsheet, it's because it's probably not available to the pro account.
I'm looking at spreadsheet because I love spreadsheets.
I know. I know
Sheila won't. If she finds a formula, she's not watching.
This is true. I've got too many mice here. I've got 3 different computers on 3 different things going on. Okay. Where were we? We were there. Mute participants automatically. Yeah, that you can fix it so that they're muted when they come in. The really important part is you can also fix it so that they're muted and deny them the permission to unmute themselves. So basically, you can throw everybody, if you're running a meeting, you can throw everybody into a watch and listen mode to where they can't, talk. They'll be able to type, but they won't be able to unmute their mics at all. And there are certain places where that can be good. Calendar integration is great. As soon as you register for something, when you all registered this time, you got the registration page pop up, and you'll notice there were 3 little things. Add to calendar right away, and you get your choice of Yahoo Calendar, Outlook, or the Google Calendar. Now, if you have some other calendar that you're using, the Outlook calendar thing is an ICS file that is compatible with a lot of other calendars. So if you're using some type of calendar other than those 3, try the Outlook, see if it doesn't match up with your calendar and put it on whatever calendar you're using. A lot of times it does. Then we get into the actual meeting things themselves, the basic. End-to-end encryption. This is important for a lot of people. You can turn it on or off. Before the recent update, you couldn't have end-to-end encryption and file transferring in the chat. They have since changed that. You can now have both going at the same time.
Andrew, sorry to interrupt. Can you scroll down a little bit on your spreadsheet for those of us that are following?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. There we go. Password mute, calendar integration. Okay, end-to-end encryption. Okay.
What does end-to-end encryption mean?
That means that they're using 128-byte encryption code that meets military standards and takes forever if somebody tries to break the file.
Oh,
basically, it encrypts the file, and so from your computer to whoever gets it, and anybody in between can't do anything with it if they get the file, unless they want to take 5 years trying to break into it.
I wonder if that takes up more bandwidth, that encryption.
Oh, I'm sure it probably does. Although by the time you've encrypted it, it probably, I don't know how much it increases file size, because basically encryption is, it's real easy to encrypt a file if you want to do it on the cheap. You take a file and you zip it, then you zip it again, then you zip it a third time. And unless somebody knew that it needed to be unzipped 3 times, they'd never dig deep enough to get it. And with being the compression, it may not increase bandwidth that much because it may not increase file size that much. But I don't know that for a fact. The next are chat and private chat. These are turned on as the default. You can, of course, turn them on if you don't want people to chat. You can turn off the private chat. Right now, this is set up. If you go down and want to chat, click the little chat thing, open it up. You'll notice that there's a little drop-down menu where it says everyone, and it lists every name of anybody attending. So if you click that, you can send a private chat to one other person here, and only the 2 of you will see it. The host will never see it. But that can lead to a lot of side chatter depending on what you're presenting and how, if you want people paying attention to you, you can turn off private chat so either their chat is public, which cuts down on a lot of it, or you can fix it so they can't chat at all. Again, it's strictly your use case and what you feel is best for that particular situation.
Can you send a private chat, Andrew, to multiple people or only one person at a time?
You can't select. No, you can only send a chat to one person at a time. You cannot send to multiple people because if you try, as soon as you click on one name, it comes off of the other.
Right. So it's one or everyone.
It's one or everyone. Right. Yeah. Auto-saving chats. That's a great feature for the host because it saves you from having to copy and paste the chat before it goes away when you close the meeting. If you turn that on, the minute the meeting closes, it saves a text file of everything in the chat for you and provides it along with the audio copy of the recording and the video copy of the recording. And if you're not recording, it still saves the chat. So you don't have to be recording to use that.
So you can go back later and get the chat?
You will get the chat when you leave the meeting. If you're recording on your local machine, it'll render. If you go to the cloud, it will also, when you open that particular recording, it's going to have a video, an audio, and a text file for the chat. And business subscriptions, they actually transcript everything that I'm saying now. You'll have 4 different files within that one.
Yeah, you just said, but you don't have to record to get the chat.
To get the chat, yeah, no, to get the chat, you don't. That is because it will save as a text file anyway, is my understanding.
That's fine, but where do you go get it?
In your Zoom folder, Michael.
I have to record in order to get
no, it will save the chat to your Zoom folder without doing a recording. And you don't actually have to be the host. Anyone can save that chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to save the chat before I leave, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's my point. I just thought save the chat. The way I understood it was it just saved the chat, and I wanted to know where.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it unless you go hit the button to save the chat.
No. If you turn this audio saving chats on, it will automatically save it. It's the minute you turn that on, it's like it triggers, quote, a recording, unquote.
Cool.
Creates a folder for it to put that chat in, listed in your recordings. But when you open that folder, it will only have a text file of the chat, nothing else. And the next one, play sounds when participants join or leave. That's strictly a case between you and your users. I like to know when people are coming and going. I can make a case for it, particularly if you have over 25 people and you're limited to 25 video feeds on the thing. Somebody comes in on the second screen. If you don't have that on, you won't know that somebody's joined unless they make a comment, which will move them up to the first 25 rather than being on the second screen with the second 25. But like I say, it just depends. That's between you and your user. Some people like to have it, some people don't.
Well, Andrew, I turned it off on mine because some people, if you're recording and then somebody comes in, people come in late, oh, it's very disruptive. But when you turn that off, the very first person who comes in, there is a doorbell, and all the rest there isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is a way, that once you start a meeting, you can lock it so that nobody else can come in, even if you have registered and you have the link. Once the host locks the meeting, it doesn't matter. You're not getting in. So those who tend to come 15 or 20 minutes late, it's like the old movie theater. Sorry, we don't see people after we start. Yeah. Particularly now, it's hard to do that if you're constantly getting new people coming in and may not know it and everything. But if you're dealing with a regular crowd, the whole thing is about trying not to interrupt the meeting that's going on. That's one reason I prefer to mute everybody coming in visually and audio. So even if they arrive late, they don't cause a big stir or anything.
Andrew, where is the lock meeting feature found on the interface?
It is I'm trying to think where it is. I believe it's, let me go down here and check.
One of your options as a host, I think, under
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking more. That's the imperfect ones.
Well, if you don't know, no offense. Okay, I'll find it. Don't worry.
Well, I know one place that it is you can is in the account settings rather than in the meeting settings. And I've seen it somewhere, but let's see more.
Well, I wouldn't waste time now. It's okay if you didn't know.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere, but I've never had an occasion to really use it.
Okay, that's fine.
And so, let's see, we're up here at the meeting. Wrong mouse, scroll. When each person, okay. Yeah, there's all the different categories. When each person joins by telephone, it'll record and play their own voice for them rather than make a sound. Next one's file transfer. That's real easy. You just put a file into the chat and it transfers and people can download it, bang, right there. You don't have to attach it as an email or anything. It's a really neat feature. I've used it 3 or 4 times and it's worth its weight in gold, particularly if you want to take a screenshot of something that's happening right then while you're doing it. I use it a lot of times. I use the snippet tool in Windows. Grab a screenshot real quick, put it in, send it on its way. And then feedback to Zoom is every time you leave a meeting, there is a chance to leave feedback. And I really do, because they really listen to what people are suggesting and asking for. If chat is saved, does that include one-on-one private chats? It will for those that are involved in it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay?
No.
No?
All private chat is also included, so you have to be real careful of that. Every chat is included. That's what Matt said.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Huh.
Good to know.
I was just going to whisper that, Andrew's doing a horrible job.
No, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If chat is saved, does that include one-on-one private chats? If it's one-on-one, there's only going to be 2 people there to record in the chat anyway. Nobody else will be making any chat entries.
But I thought you were talking about chat, like if I was going to send Bill something right now in chat, would that be recorded? All I'm saying is yes, it would.
Yeah, it would, but you're not in a one-on-one with Bill.
No, that is a one-on-one chat with Bill, though. Unless I'm misinterpreting it differently, but no big deal. No worries.
Okay, no, I interpreted it as to say like just you and me in a one-on-one meeting, nobody else here. That's the way that's the reason I said, nobody else would see it. But yeah, no, if there's more than one person in, you're right, it will be seen. But if you are in a one-to-one meeting, the only thing that's going to be recorded in the chat are going to be the 2 participants. Yeah.
Have to save the chat, and you can do one-on-one by where to the right of the word 2 in the chat. You can pull down, you see who's all online. You can send a private chat to that person.
Mm-hmm.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, Russ, you sound very distant.
Yeah, it's not working.
Well, if I put my mic down,
that makes a big difference.
If you in the chat, you can send to someone privately, and I am sending a message to Andrew. If I learn how to spell, and I just sent it to Andrew. The rest of you did not see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you to the right of the 2, the far right-hand side, is the word more, you can save the chat. Now, the 2 people who would see that, if I save the chat, I will see that conversation, as will Andrew. Now, Andrew being the host would see, all private will be anybody who saved, the people that were involved with that private chat will be in their chat log. Andrew won't see that if I send.
That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my understanding too.
We do it. We have been putting the chat in the blog post where our recordings are. We do some editing, like taking the private chat out that the host would have. She removes that when it gets posted. And what's the weather like in North Carolina? That kind of comment we take out of what is posted in the blog. So we do some editing, but it's worth it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
I understand there's split screen, and I would like to do split screen. Does anyone know how to do that? It's supposed to be under view, whereby Andrew would be taking up 1/3 of the screen, and his shared screen would be 2/3. Does anyone know how to do that?
Yeah, up at the top of what you're looking at right now, you can see a green and black thing. It should say view options. If you click on that arrow, come down and you will see side-by-side mode.
Curiously enough, it's not here. That's what I found so. No, it's not here. There's original size, hide video panel, request remote control, annotate, exit full screen, and then there are the 2 shared screens, but it doesn't show side by side. Is that perhaps I haven't authorized it or something in my settings? Does anyone else use side-by-side view?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
And I have that option.
And so if you click on view options, are you seeing that?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Okay, so it must be
I am too. I can
must
see
be a
it there.
setting. I have a pro account, right? Anyway, thank you. That was something I was looking for. I'm sure I'll find it.
Yeah, it seems to me there is a setting for that.
Monitors? Do you have dual monitors set as on?
I don't have dual monitors, no.
Okay. All right.
I only have one monitor.
Okay. I was just checking if you had that turned on. If you have dual monitors turned on, you won't get that option. But
I'll double check. Maybe I have an
that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
And Frank, just so you know, when you are in side-by-side mode, you can go between the film strip and the screen share, and you can actually drag. You know, in my case, I'm seeing everybody's video, but when I first came in, I could only see 5. So by dragging that over a little bit, I can actually see everybody's video.
Oh.
Yeah, it does.
I'm keen to try it, but I can't find the damn thing. So, anyway, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I will make a note to find where that thing is because I know it's there. Where did we leave off? Oh, feedback to Zoom. The next one, end of meeting experience feedback. If you turn that on, every time somebody leaves a meeting, they get a little screen that's got a thumbs up or a thumbs down, asking you whether you had a good experience or a bad experience. If you click the good experience, nothing happens. If you click the bad experience, it triggers a thing for you to send automatic feedback to Zoom telling them why you had a bad experience. You know, I've got it turned on for me, for all mine, just, you know, so that I can do it. And I think probably were I doing it, I would make that default setting on rather than off, just so that everybody got a chance to leave the feedback for Zoom and for me as a host, because I'd want to know that, you know. And like I say, they listen to feedback religiously. They're real good about that. Allowing the host to put the attendee on hold. That is sort of like putting them in the waiting room, but not really. It's not a wait. It's like an individual waiting room, but they don't call it as such. You're not actually taken out of the meeting. Whereas if you put somebody in the waiting room, they are taken completely out of the meeting. This is like putting them in a break room by themselves and not allowing them to hear or see anybody else. You know, you could put them in there and talk about them or do whatever and then bring them back into the meeting, but you're not actually putting them into the waiting room. It's sort of a weird thing, and I understand sort of why they did it, but I've never had a use case for it, really. Yeah. Always show meeting control bar. As a host, I definitely believe in that. That way you don't have to worry about moving your mic around. Okay. Interesting. I see Frank Nichols has raised a hand, but I don't see.
I'm sorry. You answered my question.
Oh, okay.
It was about view. Sorry. How do I'll lower it. Don't worry.
Okay. That's interesting because you only see that if you look in the participants, but in the webinar thing, it actually has a hand down in the lower toolbar that you can click to raise your hand or not. And that's what I was wondering, how you raised it without it being down there. But now I see if you do it on the participants list, you can use all those other nonverbal things.
Yeah, how do I lower it? Lower hand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I was just wondering how you triggered it. That's all. Now I've learned something.
It wasn't inadvertent. I was raising a question.
Oh.
Here's a question for you.
Okay.
People ask me, how many people can participate in a meeting? I say, well, I hear it's 100, but effectively it's 25. But isn't that what the icon hand is really for? If you had, say, 50 people, you wouldn't see it if they did this, right? Which would I prefer?
Well, it depends on basically what view you were in. Actually, it wouldn't. If you were in speaker view or gallery view, let's say you've got 50 people in or 100 people in, okay? That's 4 screens of 25.
Exactly. Yeah.
Somebody on the second screen says something, okay? If you're in active speaker mode, they get moved from that second page onto the front and you will see their video.
Yeah.
You know?
But the problem is the method I use is I try to mimic a physical meeting. So I have people raise their hand.
Ah, okay.
And that won't work if I'm chairing, if I can't see everyone. And that's why I was thinking if I ever have more than 25, that's how I would use that feature.
If you've got more than 25, you could actually keep the participant thing open all the time, because anybody that raises their hand moves to the top of that list. So you could see and what order they raise their hand as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I just wish that leaving that participant window open didn't take up as much real estate as it does. You know, I'm all for getting as much on screen as possible, but
actually, I had a thought on that. I had a woman make a presentation, and she used the standard, screen size rather than what is now normal. What is it, 9:16 or whatever, for a PowerPoint. But that's a tremendous advantage because it leaves room for the gallery view and shared screen, right?
Yeah.
So in future, I'm going to revert to the old style aspect ratio for my, if I'm doing it in a, you see what the point I'm making? It's just a little thing that occurred to me, because you go to all that trouble to have a nice slideshow, but part of your text is being obscured by the gallery view on the right side. But if you use what is called the standard aspect ratio, the old style, you have room for it, right?
I've never done it, but it's...
Oh, it's just a thought I had.
Can
I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, because I'm using a MacBook Pro. It's getting fairly old now, but it's the 17-inch one. It's the bit wider one. I've only got what we're doing on half the screen, and as I'm clicking down on the participants list or the chat, it actually is automatically expanding that much. So I'm not actually losing the shared screen part. Is that what it does on a PC as well or not? I'm only using one monitor. I haven't got a second one. So I split between 2 windows open.
Well, it depends on whether you're using the side-by-side mode or not. Like right now, I'm using side-by-side mode. So I've got the Zoom thing. I've got Russ says cancels the spotlight video. And then I've got the Zoom chat open. But if I go up here and close the side-by-side view, then I get the film strip all the way across the top.
That's what I've got.
The chat down the top. The chat down the side. And then the big window is, for the screen share. So it just depends, because if you take and turn on the side-by-side, then it brings the whole film strip down. Right now I've got 2 columns, and it's, lesser. Although, like you say, you can take that center strip and I can move it to make it big so I can see it, but then I get a long film strip that I have to scroll up and down. I prefer to make it at least wide enough if I'm in gallery view to see everybody at the same time.
Yeah, I suppose it's happening that way for me because I've got 2, shaped windows to fit into my whole screen rather than so it's just expanding as it needs to when I'm looking at the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
Frank, one thing you might want to check, when you click on settings from your little schedule menu, the last option under content sharing is side-by-side mode. So if you don't have that checked, you won't be able to do it. Just in that setting. I'm just saying in that setting. That's all. I was just double checking on that. But
Thanks, Michael. I knew I'd seen it somewhere. I just couldn't remember where.
Well, and he might have that. I don't know. He might have it checked. I was just making that.
Yeah. You're muted, Frank.
Thank you for that. Yes, I'll check that. Listen, for some reason, Russ Worthington is spotlighted. And so if I go to either active speaker view, I mean, great photo of you there, Russ, but.
Okay, apparently I must have done that by mistake because
Exactly.
I just now canceled it.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was me. Thank you.
And Michael, do you know from the testing last week, Frank, you were talking about displaying in a 4:3 aspect ratio so you can move those videos over to the right. But you might want to be careful with that because you're the only one who's going to see that. The other
Well,
people,
no, anyone who is in gallery mode, that's how this. I don't control it, but they at least then have the option. I'm not suggesting I control.
Yeah,
but at least I leave room for them.
Well, you wouldn't need to if you just instruct them to go to side-by-side mode, and it'll do that automatically for you.
I understand that, but trust me, the people. Look, I haven't been able to do side-by-side, so I can hardly. But exactly. But if you don't have side-by-side, and people have that strip down the side, if you have the standard, the old style aspect ratio, by default, they have some room. So that was the only point I was making.
Unless it displays over top of that 4:3 ratio.
Not in the Windows, but you could be right. Other things it could be. A Mac, maybe it does do that. Good point. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. I think where are we? Okay. I've lost track of where we were. On hold. Always show meeting control bar. The next one, allow to share Zoom windows in desktop sharing. If you're doing tutorials, that's a good one. Because otherwise you won't be able to show them the boxes that you want them to be filling in and how to be filling them in and everything. Yeah. Not that I do that many tutorials that I use that, but it's great. That way you don't have to worry about trying to record something using something else so that you can show them what you're doing. And then the next one is annotation. Now, annotation is for everybody. If you go up and look at your view options at the top and click on it, you will find that there is, when somebody is screen sharing, there is an annotation toolbar. You can click on that and you can draw and do all sorts of wonderful things with it. But I've got to close my, all right. If we do this and we say share the share screen, okay. Now hopefully you're seeing my thing. This is the annotation toolbar. It can be moved separately from anything. You've got text, you've got draw, you've got spotlight. This makes your, if you move your cursor around, it's easy to track on screen. Gives you a little red thing. Your eraser, you can change line width, font size, bold, colors, redo, undo. You can clear all drawings, your drawings, or clear other drawings. And if you're sharing a screen, anybody can annotate on that screen that you're sharing. So it's either you let everybody annotate or nobody annotates. It's not one of these, I'll let Sally, but Paul can't type things. I can see especially the white screen. Now the white screen, once you annotate it, it cannot be brought back into the same meeting and worked on. You have to take, if you want to use it later for other people to annotate the annotations, and you take a screenshot of it, you share that screenshot, and then they're able to annotate on the new one, if that makes sense. Let's stop that. Okay. Yes. Virtual backgrounds. Where? That's not where I am. Where am I?
Whiteboard.
Oh yeah, the whiteboard I just showed. Okay, remote control. That's basically you allow somebody else to take over your computer, or they allow you to take over theirs. It's good for, especially for troubleshooting. The nonverbal feedback you see by clicking on the participants down in the taskbar at the bottom, and it'll show you the coffee cup and the whole thing. Now, some of it, if you click on the more thing, if you notice that little clock at the end over there, if somebody is in your meeting and they don't have the Zoom window as their primary focus, if they go somewhere else, after 30 seconds, that little thing's going to appear by their name. Now, just because they're off doing something else doesn't mean they're not paying attention. They could actually be in Notepad writing notes or doing something else. But you know that the main Zoom screen is not their main focus at that particular point. And at that point, you can do any one of a number of tricks to sort of call them back, you know, like throw up a poll or ask an open-ended question or something to get them back from what they're doing in case they're doing something other than what pertains to the meeting. It's a really neat little closed caption. This is something that you can either assign somebody to do, and if they're going to be doing it, you've got to remember they're not going to be paying attention to your presentation. They're going to be listening to words to type, not connecting any meaning to them, or you can send it to an outside company. There is, however, a workaround that is free. And what you do is you record the meeting to Zoom's cloud or to your local drive, either one. Then you take and upload that video to YouTube as unlisted. YouTube will create that closed caption for you, and then you can download it from the YouTube video that's there if you want it. Doesn't cost you a dime. All it costs you is uploading to YouTube. You know, of course, now it'll take a while for you to upload and a little bit for it to do the transcription work. It won't hand you one, you know, immediately. But, you know, when these people are charging like $6 per minute to transcribe a video, and you've got an hour video that you want transcribed, that you're saving a bunch of money. Yeah. And far-end camera control, that allows somebody else to take over your camera or vice versa. Group HD video, you can fix it so that the groups are part of the enterprise. So you can assign different people to different groups. You can arrange for them to have high def when they're doing their recording and stuff, but it does eat up your bandwidth. And the last one is the virtual background. Those have to be enabled before the meeting starts for you to have access to it. Then once the meeting starts, you just click on backgrounds and pick up whichever one you want or you've uploaded. Okay, you can't download a video from YouTube unless you put it up there. You're not allowed to download other people's videos.
Okay.
But if you've got a YouTube channel, any videos that you put up on your channel, if you go to, I think it's the very first one, it's edit, and it gives you a whole drop-down menu of what you can do and everything, and get transcript and download video are two of those options. And I think that's probably where we should end it tonight, because the next things start dealing with edifying guest participants. That's all got to do with the business class, 10 or more. And that's it. In case if anybody's got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Or maybe somebody else can answer them if I don't know the answer to them. Oh, wait a minute. I don't want to do that. And we're going to stop Roy from screen sharing.
We stopped at remote control, Andrew. 36.
We stopped at
Virtual background.
Yeah, we stopped at virtual background 42. 43.
43. Okay.
Yeah. So let me get him, and I'm going to get these other two accounts out of here to where it just leaves me, if I can. Where did that go? All right. Aha, you're hiding behind the window. I can see you.
Mm-hmm.
Stop screen sharing. There we go. All right. And now he'll leave the meeting, and that will leave only Andy. Okay. And I'm going, if we just want to talk, I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording.